No freaking way. No freaking way. Check that. If I can get you in a shot. Right there. That's where the full mark is. Right there. I fucking nailed that. Well, not even trying. Time to do an oil change on the old girl. I've got my ramps, some wood blocks. I've got my handy dandy toolbox that I keep in my trunk, my flashlight. I've got my sticker already filled out. I can show that, I think, because the business is no longer under that name. I used to work there years ago. Here I've got my Walmart brand full synthetic 1030. My Mobile One oil filter. And my single-use plastic bag, which now in Connecticut costs 10 cents every time you buy one at a store. I purchased this a while ago, but the heat's been too nasty to do anything. And, you know, it costs $26 to do an oil change yourself, which is actually more expensive than most places now. But at least I'm doing it right. I've also got my catch pan. And you see that little nozzle right there? That's available at Walmart. It comes with a long plastic hose on it, and it's meant to go on jugs like that. But I use it on there, so it's an easy, convenient way to drain the oil into an empty bucket to bring to my transfer station. I'm going to be using this as my camera tripod. It's a vise mounted to a strip of wood. I've had this around for quite some time, and I just thought, hey, that would be a great way to make sure the camera stays where I put it while I'm filming this. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting the boards in front of the tires to give the tires up in the air a little bit before they get onto the ramps. That way I don't scrape my my front bumper cover. And I'm going to get her up on the ramps and yeah. Here we are underneath the belly of the beast. Back. My training pan, exhaust, and of course now I can't see it because it's dark. That means I gotta find my flashlight just to show you. Right there is the drain plug. And being a Japanese car, you'd expect it to be metric, but it's actually 9/16, which is weird. So let's see if I can leave this here and find some place to put the flashlight so you can see. Alright, maybe that's not gonna work. Okay, well, there it is. I'll put my socket on it. Get myself a good bit of leverage here, and tug, 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 tug. And she's loose, and I just lost my hat. Okay, so I've gotten it loose so I can take it off by hand. Alright. Can't see it because it's so dark and this phone is really bad in lighting. Alright, there's our fill, our drain plug. There's the bucket. And get in here. So take it off by hand. A ratchet would be faster, but whatever. And out comes all that gunk that's way overdue. One thing to note is as the vehicle drains, the actual stream will move. So you gotta keep an eye on that as you're draining it. And there is not enough oil coming out, which means I should have checked my oil more regularly. Now, what I like to do, one of the reasons why I like doing my own oil changes, is so I can take a look at what's going on under the car while I'm down here. For instance, my hands are all oil. Like, I can examine the exhaust system, check the underbody for anything weird, anything unusual over here by the brakes. You can check if your CV joints are, the boots are torn. There's a lot you can learn about a car just by looking around. Like right there, that's my transmission drain plug. And up under here is where that dent is in the bumper that I'm gonna probably take a look at if I can. Come back and check on the oil. It's still dripping. Drip, 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 drip. Now, what I usually do is every 2 or 3 oil changes, I do what's called an extended drain. I run the car, get it nice and hot, and then I do the same thing I do for a regular oil change, but I leave that plug out for about an hour to make sure every little bit of that old crap gets out. I did that the last oil change, so I won't be doing that today. And besides, it's not something you need to see a video on. You just let it sit for longer. Nothing special about that. Usually, in the middle of draining, I'll reach up and just clean off the surface that the bolt faces when it goes back on, just to make sure there's no dirt. That is so weird. Before I hit record, there's plenty of light, and as soon as I touch record, the screen goes dark. Anywho, I just like to take the bolt, the drain plug, and clean it off with a towel, make sure there's no dirt and crap on it, and whatever gunk's on the plug itself I clean off. Some cars have a magnetic plug and it'll catch metal filings that are normal wear and tear on an engine, so it's a good idea to wipe that off, whether or not you have it, because you want those threads to be clean and you want that mating surface to be spotless. I'm going to do that off camera because frankly I don't have enough arms. Alright. she's had long enough. So what I always do is I always hand thread that nut, that bolt, that plug, that thing, whatever. Just because you don't want to cross thread an oil pan plug, because if you do, well, then you gotta remove the oil pan and replace it, and frankly that's just too much like work. And doing it right the first time, you won't have to do something like that. Then we're gonna snug it. Don't make it ridiculously tight, you're gonna have to get that thing off again. Alright, time to go up top. There's my oil filter up at the top of the engine. That's my exhaust manifold. There's my oil dipstick. Hold on, aim the camera properly, dumbass. And there we go. There's the oil filter. And you notice I'm actually at the top of the engine looking down. This is something that I've never seen before in a car till I worked on a Toyota. The filter actually drains right back into the pan when you turn the engine off, so most of the oil is out of this filter already, which, you know, there's pros and cons to that. Now if you look, when the oil, what little oil there is drips out, it does not have a clear path anywhere. It's just going to go everywhere. You can't avoid that. So what I try to do is get the drain pan. It's so hard to shoot video. Okay, what I want to do is get the pan down around here so that whatever mess does come out goes mostly in the pan, and then I'm going to have to go down at the bottom and clean off the drain pan because there's going to be oil everywhere. Not the best idea, but it works. Now hopefully I can get this off by hand if I didn't put it on too tightly last time. Come on. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of movement. There we go. We got it. Now, they do make special sockets that fit the end of these so that you can just put a ratchet on there and crank it off, but if you put it on at the right tightness, you should never ever need to. They make also slip joint plier types, but I've used both and I've actually not had very good luck with any of them. Now, one thing to note while you're doing this, if you're working on a Camry like this and you got this piece here, this piece is going to be hot even if you only run the car for as long as I ran it for, and it's been sitting for 10 minutes at least. This is still a little warm. So when you're in here, you're going to want to be conscious of that and also understand that it's up here too. So I'm going to gently unscrew a little bit at a time, and right when it gets towards the end, you can feel it wobble a little bit, and you know you're almost at the end of the threads. And then tip it up, pull it out, and then put it right upside down in the tray. Now, as I mentioned earlier, like I said, it just goes everywhere. You can't avoid it, so all you can do is try to mitigate it the best you can. And I'm gonna get a smell for a day or two as what spills burns off whatever I don't clean. Now I'm gonna get in here with my towel. I'm gonna do the same thing like I did for the plug. We're gonna wipe off all dirt around the mating surface of the filter. Now, when you're doing that, try to push outward so that if there's any dirt that you loosen up, it goes outside of the area where your oil goes. Instead of, if you push it into there, it gets drawn through your oil, and you really don't want dirt in your oil if you can avoid it. Okay, and the rest of that, I don't feel like dealing with. One thing that you may notice, that's a different size filter than I'm supposed to have. That's actually the filter for the V6 Camry, and the V6 Camry filter will fit the 4-cylinder. It's wider, but it does seal and it works fine. So, if you get the wrong one for a Camry, you might be alright. It's time to prepare the new filter. So what you want to do is you're going to reach in to your oil, get a good amount of oil on the tip of your finger, and you're going to rub it around the oil ring, the rubber O-ring. Now this is so that the O-ring does not stick to your block when you pull it out. Which I probably should mention, when you remove the filter, of course my flashlight's over there. When you remove the old filter, make sure the O-ring is actually gone, because sometimes it will stay behind, and if you put an oil filter on and there's an O-ring already there, you will get leaks, and you don't want leaks. Leaks are bad, especially oil. So, we got our oiled O-ring. Send it right over the, and just gently turn it a little bit till the threads engage, and then spin it down until she just starts to get snug, and then give her a little bit more turn, a little bit more of a turn. Don't wrench that thing on too much because you're not gonna ever get it off. So get it tight, well, snug, and then give it maybe a quarter to a half of a turn. No more than that, because like I said, you want to get that off, and trust me, when those oil filters stick, they're a pain in the tuchus to get off. Usually while I'm doing that, I always pull the oil dipstick out, clean it off, give it a good clean wipe, and put it back in, and then we're going to go pull the oil cap off and fill her up. Okay, here you are precariously balanced on the driver's side. I'm not using a funnel because real men don't need funnels. And by that we of course mean real men spill oil everywhere. It's particularly bad for me because I have really bad depth perception and jittery hands. But I managed to not make too much of a mess. So that's like gold star for me. It's always a good idea to know ahead of time how much oil your car takes. Some, like my mother's Sentra, takes 2.75 quarts, which is a ridiculously small amount of oil for an engine that burns 2 quarts every 600 miles. This car does burn a little oil, but you know, what car at 300,000 doesn't? Unless it's had major engine work done. And I'm not tearing apart the engine and re-ringing it because I don't need to. Alright. You made a bit of a mess right there at the end, so I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. Alright. No frickin' way. No frickin' way. Check that. If I can get you in a shot. Right there. That's where the full mark is. Right there. I fucking nailed that. Well, not even trying. Alrighty. We put the Z cap on. We put the dipstick back in. Alright. We're gonna see if we can care of this. Now, let's see what we got under here. Let's see, we got that and that to remove. We got that to remove. These two, and that'll get us up in there. Hey, remember the raccoon? There's a little raccoon fur right there. Yeah, I guess my bumper was busted a little bit, huh? Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to get these, and even though they have Phillips heads, I wouldn't dare use a screwdriver on them. 10 millimeter. If you work on cars, you know how common the 10 millimeter is and how easily that sucker disappears. So I'm going to pull these out, pull out this piece, and that'll get me to the back of the bumper here. Please excuse the flashy bits. And if you see, right up in here, this is where the damage is from the snow back in March. What I'm going to try and do is push on it and try to pop the dent out from the inside out. I've done this successfully on my mother's 97 Cavalier. And maybe I'll have just as good luck here. Well, it ain't perfect. I still got a divot about that wide, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. Now, what I have to do is push out from the inside while pushing in from the outside, and kind of like bending a little bit and flexing a little bit, and then it's just like doop, 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 couple pushes, and got most of it out. Maybe I'll spend a couple minutes fixing it. I'll try a little bit more, see what I can get. No joy. Well, it's still a hell of a lot better than it was. And I'm going to put that inner splash shield in. I was going to show you how to clean all the crap that accumulates in the bottom of your fenders and causes your fenders to rot, but I think I've done enough for today. Alright, we're all buttoned up. I've gone underneath and cleaned up all the areas that had oil drips from before. And now one of the most important parts is the leak test. Hey look, there's my regular phone. Not the real phone. Alright, we're going to go out and we're going to check to make sure there's no oil leaks, because oil is the blood of an engine, and you wouldn't want yourself to be bleeding out, so why would you want your car to be bleeding out? Where's my flashlight? There it is. Alright. Start up here by the filter. Nothing coming out there is fresh. That's all from taking off the filter the last time. Take a look at the pan bolt. Don't see any drips there. Beauteous. That's what we like to see. Alright. Okay. Alright, Simmery, let's come down off these ramps. Let's get you earthbound again. Perfect. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to pull this overdue oil sticker off. Ta-da! Come up here. Make sure that's really... I'm gonna have to get the Windex on it. I'd rather not if I can help it. Oh, that shit's on the outside. Okay. Okay. Grab a sticker. No, come back here, door. And we're gonna put the sticker on, and I need 3 hands, of course. Peel the backing off. Touch it with my greasy fingertips, because I didn't bother going washing up first. And loop. And then, to prevent getting my fingerprints all over it, I'm going to smooth it down with a towel. Just like I used to do when I worked there. Alright, girl. You're good for 3,000 miles, and the oil is good for 5,000. I put 3,000 because I always tend to run way beyond the regular interval. So, if I set it for 3,000 and I'm 2,000 late, well, then I'm on time. Thanks for coming along on this crazy little adventure with me. Thanks for subscribing and watching and commenting and all that stuff. And not too bad. I managed to do that all in an hour and a half, including videoing, which, you know, would have cost me like 40 minutes time if I didn't shoot video. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Toodaloo.